Hello, my name is Eduardo Oseguera. I'm a school counselor.
And my name is Claudia Gonzalez. I am a school-based therapist with Santa Rosa City Schools.
And today we are going over a presentation, suicide prevention for parents and caregivers.
When talking statistics and demographics, suicide is the leading cause of death among school-aged youth. In 2015, approximately 18% of 9th to 12th graders seriously considered suicide, with 9% having made an attempt one or more times. However, aside from these statistics, suicide is preventable.
We have some words such as sadness and depression. There is a difference between the two. So what is the difference? Well, with sadness, it's a typical human emotion. Usually happens in response to an event, allows people to go about their daily activities, goes away with time, with coping skills and healthy choices. Now with depression, it is a medical mental illness, happens because of life event, or could be genetics or a combination of the both. It noticeably affects school relationships and daily activities and needs professional treatment, such as therapy or counseling.
When it comes to depression, there are symptoms to look out for. Many symptoms can come across as expressing sadness, but it is important to know that with depression, these symptoms are a little bit more intense. So symptoms can be changes in normal sleeping patterns, random outbursts of tears or anger, frequent thoughts of death or suicide, intense feelings of despair and sadness, loss of interest in enjoyable activities, extreme tiredness or lack of energy, appetite increase or decrease, and trouble focusing and concentrating.
It is also important to tell the difference between self-harm and versus suicide. And here are some key differences. So we're going to look at the method, the frequency, the purpose, and the severity between the two. With self-harm, the method should be minor to moderate damage to the surface of the body, so cutting, burning, punching, kicking. Those are means of method. And with suicide, it could be severe damage using lethal means. And we'll see that the frequency is often with self-harm is used as a way of coping, as a coping mechanism, versus with suicide, usually very infrequent. And the purpose for self-harm is to relieve stress and feel better, while the intent or purpose of suicide is to die, wanting to die. And severity is less severe for self-harm versus suicide could be very severe, sometimes lethal. While I mentioned all these key differences, you can see there is a big difference between the two. And while self-harm is less severe, it is still necessary and vital to speak to a medical or mental health provider about this.
The language we use, comments, phrases is key also. So try to stay empathetic, calm, and non-judgmental. Avoid using comments such as "stop complaining," "you have a great life," "don't be so dramatic." Use comments more of "this sounds like it's really hard for you right now. I know what that pain feels like. I've felt it before too." Offer your support. "How can I help you? I will always be here to help you." Versus you should have done this, or "why haven't you done that?" Remind your child that feelings are powerful but temporary. Even though this sadness feels like it will last forever, it won't. Every feeling passes eventually, versus being more dry and saying your life isn't that bad. Be direct and specific. This is very key and important. While The topic of suicide and self-harm is a hard topic to talk about, and at times for some can be even uncomfortable. Being direct and specific is the best you can do. So be direct. Are you thinking of killing yourself? Do you want to die? Instead of, are you thinking of hurting yourself? By you being direct, you'll be able to identify where your child is at.
These are some key behaviors to look at. And so let's discuss suicide warning signs. Most suicidal youth demonstrate observable behaviors signaling suicidal thinking. So you'll see suicidal threats can be direct and indirect, which we'll go over in this presentation. Sometimes that the child would leave a note or plans, including online postings. They might give away prized possessions, so making final arrangements. Another thing is preoccupation with death. Another thing is changes in behavior, appearance, thoughts, and or feelings. And these can be a drastic change as well.
So let's talk terminology. When we're talking specifically about suicide, it's important to use phrases like they died by suicide instead of they committed suicide. Died by suicide focuses on the tragedy of the death itself. Committed suicide is a leftover phrase from when suicide was a crime, like murder or burglary. It implies guilt instead of a mental illness. When talking about suicide, it's important to say, they're communicating a need versus they're being dramatic or attention seeking. A suicide attempt is often a way to communicate a need that is not being met. And suicide ideation in any form should be taken seriously. There are direct and indirect threats when it comes to suicide ideation. And being able to identify the difference between the direct, indirect, and expressive and behavioral is important. So direct expressive threats can be writing suicide notes, saying I want to die, writing a will, saying my death is the only way out, I have no reason to live. Indirect expressive can be saying I wish I never wake up, you will be better off without me. Art with themes of death, writings that include death themes, sayings like things will never get better, the pain is unbearable. Direct behaviors or actions that you might see kids take is giving away prized possessions, as mentioned, sudden unexpected happiness, significant risk taking, researching suicide methods, or calling and visiting to say goodbye. Indirect behaviors are increased substance use, academic decline, aggression, isolating self from family and friends, refusing help, and sudden decline in appearance.
These are some risk factors that can increase suicidal behaviors. Previous suicide attempts, isolation and loneliness. And I understand with distance learning, students are at home during this time, so this could increase the loneliness feeling, but we have to look at both isolation and loneliness in this case. And so with isolation, person is wanting to be away from people and also feeling lonely. Now other risk factors are non-suicidal self-injury, cutting is an example of that. Situational crisis, an example of that is the presence of a gun in the home, bullying and harassment, or feeling harassed. Mental illness, including depression, conduct disorders, and substance abuse. You could also see family distress or dysfunction, which can contribute to suicidal behavior, and family history of suicide, if there's been history of it in the past, environmental risks, including the presence of a firearm in the home.
There are protective factors that can lessen the effects of risk factors. These can include the following: family or peer support, school and community connectedness, healthy problem-solving coping skills, and easy access to effective medical and mental health services. At the end of our presentation, we will share with you some resources that we have here in our district as well as within our community.
What to do? This applies if you hear or observe behaviors, though usually youth who feel suicidal are not likely to seek help directly. However, parents, school personnel, and peers can recognize the warning signs and take immediate action to keep the youth safe. When a child gives signs that they may be considering suicide, the following actions should be taken. And here are some actions to be taken. Remain calm and check your tone. So that includes checking your tone of voice. Use empathetic language. Focus on your concern of their well-being. Avoid being accusatory. Do not judge them. Listen, reassure them that there is help and they will not feel like this forever. Provide constant supervision. Do not leave your child alone. Remove any means for self-harm. Get help. It's important that parents or guardians seek help from school or community mental health resources as soon as possible. Now, here are some resources. As mentioned earlier, here at Santa Rosa City Schools, we have a resource, and that is the Integrative Wellness Center, which provides free mental health services for Santa Rosa City School students and families. And the number that you can contact is 707-890-3827. And then we have the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. This can be contacted 24/7 at any point. And the number is 1-800-273-TALK, or you can text message them. So contact the crisis text line by texting HOME to 741-741. Sonoma County also has a prevention hotline. It is the North Bay Suicide Prevention Hotline. It is toll-free, confidential, 24/7 suicide prevention hotline. It is in the numbers 1-855-587-6373. Sonoma County has a mental health line as well, and that is open 24/7 in terms of getting calls. So you can call 1-800-746-8181. And then there is an app. It is called My3 app. My3 app lets you stay connected when you are having thoughts of suicide. It helps to build a safety plan, and it provides 24/7 access to the National Suicide Hotline.
And here at Steel Lane, this is our social emotional support. We have Eduardo Oseguera, who is the school counselor, Taryn Reynolds, the school psychologist, myself, Claudia Gonzalez, the school-based therapist, and our principal, Amber Williams. At the top is the link or the website to Eduardo, our school counselor's, his direct website.
Well, thank you for watching our video. Right here is our infographic, which you can find on the National Association of School Council of Psychologists. You can also look up this information if you Google search it by looking up Preventing Youth Suicide. It gives you tips. It gives tips for parents and educators. So it gives you the risk factors, warning signs, what to do, reminders for parents. So again, and you can go to the website or even just look at this video to see this information. And you can find this video on my website, which was mentioned earlier, which is counseloroseguera.weebly.com. So thank you again for watching our video. Bye.